All right, first step is to get the car off the ground. We're gonna start with the front brake duct. So, lift your car up in the air. If you go completely up, there will be no pressure on the tire, or no weight on the tire, and it will just spin freely. In case you noticed, these are the raised lug nuts that we picked up in Japan. Alright, so for the front Z51 brake ducts, you're only going to use 4 of the bolt holes. There's a plastic clip that goes in to this hole. So the plastic clip goes in there. Don't push it in yet. In fact, I think the instructions call to you to go ahead and put that clip in first. I wouldn't do that. I've had problems aligning the other side when I did this. But then you have 4 of these 8mm bolts that go in the pre-made holes in this, and you have 3 on the bottom, and then you have 1 on the front side just below that plastic clip. So here's how this works. So this is actually going to slide up, and that plastic clip goes in here. Now, like I said, you can put that in, but I have a hard time getting it lined up. So what I actually do is I put this 8mm bolt in first. Go ahead and do that. Start it by hand. And then on the bottom side, there's one right here. And there's pre-threaded holes in the control arm. Alright, you gotta kind of move it around a little bit. But once you get it started and it's in there, you can move on to one of the next ones. So now we have 2 bolts in. We have the front side, and we have one on the underside. There's another one. Just remember, righty-tighty, we are upside down. Well, you are threading it in upside down, so it can be somewhat difficult. Let me show you where the last one is. Alright, so you're going to take your clip, you're going to make sure that hole's lined up, and once it's lined up, you're going to push it through and push it in, and then go and tighten all your 8 mils. And literally, that's it on the front. It's just this weird kind of air dam, and it kind of adds to the flat panel look / function that the Sierra already has going on with all of the flat panels under here. Now you have a flat panel completely covering the underside of your front control arm. Oh, it's right here. There's a gap, and it allows air to flow through and come out these vents. So the back ones, that's how they work. So the only thing I can imagine is this is actually ducting air up into here and helping air flow out there to help keep the rotor cool. Now you're gonna reinstall your wheel. Put your lug nuts on. And you're gonna torque them to the factory specs of 140 foot-pounds with a torque wrench. If you don't have a torque wrench, get a torque wrench. Precision is safety. Alright, so for the rear, I'm going to take these scoops first, these little ducts, and 2 10mm bolts. Now there's 2 bolt locations here and here, and we're going to slide this under the control arm, and we're going to hand start it. You'll know that it's these bolts because it's the only two, well, there's 4 total in the kit, but it's the only 2 bolts in the kit with blue Loctite on them. Alright, so that duct is in place. Let's see if we can catch a glimpse. That's the bolt location. There's one there, and then there's one just in front of it. So now, for this part, the part with the extrusion goes up to the control arm. So you're actually going to bolt to the control arm here, here, and here. And you do this with the silver bolts. It's like 8mm bolts. So with that said, you should have prepped the upper part of the air duct by putting these tabs in, these threaded tabs, and you want to make sure that the threaded part faces up like the extrusion. And there's 6 of them. So you should have 6 of the black bolts that will bolt the bottom part of the scoop to it. But you don't put the bottom of the air duct on until this is bolted on, otherwise you won't be able to get to the head of this bolt right here inside that extrusion. Alright, so you got your first bolt in right there. You're gonna put your second one right here. There's threaded holes in the control arm, so kind of hard to line up a little bit, but you just want to get everything hand started first. Once everything's in there, you can tighten it up. You want to make sure you tighten these bolts before you put the other part, the lower duct, on there. Just see how deep it would be. It looks like it hangs down 3 or 4 inches. So yeah, I guess it still does reach below the fender well. That's interesting. Well thought out, GM. I guess it wouldn't be a brake duct or a brake scoop if it didn't actually scoop air into it. But yeah, now you're gonna thread the 6 7mm black bolts or black screws through the lower duct. You just want to make sure that these tabs are intertwined so that everything's lined up. I'm gonna hand start all of them. And this is just smart on any project you're on, because if you tighten one, there's a chance that all the other ones won't be lined up. Now, I probably didn't need this on this car, mostly because it's a non-Z51 model. The brakes are the regular Stingray brakes, the regular size. Therefore, they don't really need extra cooling. I've never had problems with these brakes, but I found these online for about $100, and it's too good to turn down. I just wanted to see if they'd fit on a regular Stingray, and they will, which I think is great. Scooping the air in and throwing it up this into the center of the brake rotor to where the air will pass through the vents, or the vanes, I should say.